Thank you for joining me on a special edition of No Filter. Today's episode is about social justice and will include topics to do with my world of fashion, arts, poetry, arts, and how we've been treated as people of color in these arenas. Welcome to No Filter Season 2. For my first guest, this lady, this woman, my second mother, is a trailblazer. She's also someone that was big in the modeling community. She was on the runways. She opened her own model-led agency, management, Bethann Hardison Model Management. She's an activist. She's behind the scenes. She's everyone's go-to in our business. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, my mother, Bethann Hardison.
You're so
Hi,
funny.
Ma. I always kept it like this because I never think it's gonna work. I always
Never know.
You look beautiful.
Huh?
You look beautiful.
Oh, good. I made an effort.
You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, sweetheart. I would say you do too, but you always do. I'm gonna let the light shine on me.
Where are you, Ma? Are you upstate?
I came down into New York City a week and a half ago to get some things done, the taxes, voting. My refrigerator died, so I waited for a new refrigerator. And I'm going to go back up in the mountains on Saturday or Sunday.
Well, where do we begin? I mean,
it's heavy.
I know. So I met you at 14 years old. Do you want to tell us how that happened?
Yeah. You know, the thing, a wonderful woman who admired me, and I had started my model agency. Her name was Beth Bolt, and she contacted me and she said she found this girl she thought that I should really take under my wings. She was in London because Beth was someone who had her own business in London. She was an American girl, but she had her office in London, and she scouted and found you on the street. The interesting thing about that is that she made it sound so important that I had to come. She said, you have to come. So I went over to London. I met you and your mother and your stepfather. And that was really the beginning of our life because we cemented something that was important. You gave great energy in knowing that there was someone you knew in America. And then when it came down to representation, that didn't happen. But when you first came to New York, the only person you knew was me. You called me. You were nervous as heck. You were working for Vogue. You were 15 by then, I think. 15 or 16?
16.
Yeah, 16. And so they had put you with Ford. You didn't know Ford. You didn't care about Ford. You only knew me.
Mother, don't say that.
Well, at the time. And so you called me.
Can I say one thing? One thing. Could you move over so we can see all of your beautiful face? Thank you.
Oh,
there
yeah.
You go.
And then I can go up a little closer.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you. Am I in a better spot? Yeah. Thank you for telling. So that said, so you called me, and from that moment on, you stayed in touch, and you just could rely on me. I was your anchor, and from that point on, it was like your mom say, when she has to tell people who I am, she said that's her American mom. And you just began the journey, and whenever you had a problem, you called me. When you didn't like something was going on in the industry, you told me. You would leave a shoot and come to my office and lay down upstairs in my loft in my office on Northmore Street. Yeah, we had a great relationship, and then life went on. I was the one who could tell you you would tell me things, but I could also tell you right, wrong, or indifferent. And as life went on, even though you always fought for yourself, and I always, I called you Buffalo Soldier. And because I gave you that, because you were really someone who to me was fighting on arrival, fighting for survival. And And I always keep that in my mind about you, because from the moment you showed up, you were not going to just go along with everything. You wanted everything to be fair and honest, and that meant a lot for me to watch someone so young do that. And you got your own apartment at 17, and I was impressed with that. And you did all this on your own. You know, Mom didn't come with you, and so that was impressive to me. But when the time came when we had to really make changes or notice things were happening, you know, I could always count on you to say, could you bring me a dress from Azzedine, because we're going to do the event? And you would bring the dress from Azzedine. Yeah.
I want to ask, so, I mean, we have so much history to cover, and I could do 2-3 shows on what you've done and accomplished. You were a model yourself, and last night I watched the Battle of Versailles.
Oh, which
one?
one?
Amazing.
The 73.
Yes.
Yes.
73. It's incredible, by the way. Incredible. I mean,
yeah.
Where do I start? How many models of color were there then when you were modeling?
When I was modeling, there was lots of models of color, because we were runway girls, and a lot of white girls. It was 2 divisions. There was the print girls, and then there was the runway girls that serviced the designers and the entire garment district. But when it came down to who was in the industry, you know, girls could always come and go. If you're talking about who was in Versailles, you're talking about who was in the industry.
Right.
Who's in the industry, right?
Right.
A lot of girls. There were a lot of girls. It wasn't like it, you know, well, I can't say, well, there was a lot, meaning no one said you can't unless you just weren't good.
Yeah. But I mean, just for me, having not seen it we've never discussed this, by the way. This is the first time we've ever discussed it.
We've never discussed it together.
No, we've never discussed the Battle of Versailles.
Yeah.
Never. And by the way, it was America vs. Paris, vs. France, and American designers won. It was 7 American designers, 7 French designers.
Five each.
And America won, hands down, right? But just
it wasn't supposed to be It wasn't supposed to be a competition, but it eventually became a competition, because they started to, you know, over the many months that we were growing towards it, they started to act as if that was ridiculous that the American designers would come to France, where France was so much more couturiers and designers, and they considered Americans just like sportswear designers. So they had no understanding, and the French press started to say negative things. Up until then, it was just going to be a benefit the Marie Antoinette Theater in the Hall of Versailles. But then after that, you know, all the people we were going to have support us to come from America, all the editors started to drift away. They were no longer interested to come because they're embarrassed. They knew. I mean, how could we go up against Dior or Marc Bohan or, you know, but the good news. Yeah.
You did, and you won.
We did. And we won because of the fact that it was simple, it was different. They had a lot. They thought they were going to do a big variety show. We kept it very simple. Kate Thompson, Liza Minnelli, the girls, the dancers.
Yeah, Liza Minnelli opened. Oh my God, Mom. I would have loved to have been. I was 3 years old. In 73, I was 3. I would have loved to have been.
Yeah. It was unique. It was very unique.
So after modeling, you went on to work with Click.
After modeling, yes, I work with a lot of people though. Oh my God, no! Let me just explain. When I modeled, I had a job the whole time. I was the only model that actually had a full-time job the whole time I modeled. I worked for other people. I just could go out because back in the day, New York showed last. In America, we showed last. Paris showed first. Yeah. So now it was just I was allowed to do a lot of things because I worked for design. I worked for Stephen. I worked for Willie before. I started working for many different things. I worked for Valentino and Giancarlo.
Can I just ask you, just when you say the names, Willie, say their names so that we know, because
exactly who they are.
The histories, yes. So Stephen.
Right. So I worked with Willie Smith. I worked for Stephen Burrows. I worked for a lot of different designs. And then I still continued to have a job, a full-time job. I worked with Valentino in Giancarlo Giametti. I always was able to maintain. Then working with Stephen, I was able to go to Paris and do shows because I was so good at my job. The owners of my company, I asked them, could I go to Paris? They said, if you only promise if you got the work done here first, and I did. They let me go. I would produce shows for Kenzai Yamamoto. I used to produce shows for him, and I was very instrumental in everything that Issey Miyake did. So I produced shows for him for everything he did in Japan when it came down to the girls here, especially the black girls, when he wanted to bring them over.
You've been in it, really in it, entrenched in our business, and on both sides for a very, very long time.
Very long time. Yeah, growing up in the garment district, I think helped a great deal because it gave me my foundation. My first job was in a custom button factory, and then from there I just went up, and it didn't mean you were doing fancy things. It's just that you were learning in very good companies, like junior dress houses, being the first sales girl who was of color in the garment district, selling to the buyers who came in. I was very supported by the Jewish people that I worked for. It was a great deal, and it really meant a lot for me to learn and grow, and that they believed in me, and to the point that even if I didn't do well in one department, they took me to another department and taught me more. It was quite great. So by the time I got to working and helping the design studio of someone like Stephen Burrows or helping Willie Smith before he started Willie Wear, I had all that background,
which was invaluable.
Yes. And then eventually when I went to Click, let me tell you too, because you asked about Click, I went there because the woman who owned it basically we had two boyfriends.
Is that Frances?
Frances Brill. That's right.
Frances, yeah, I remember her.
Frances Brill, well done. She asked me to please come and help her with her model agency. And she kept begging me, and I knew, Keisha Keeble and Paul Kabako and people like that, and we all were kind of all connected. So they convinced me, please go help her, please go help. So that's how I started at Click. And then 2 years after that, 2.5 years later, I went and started my own. And that was in 1984, I started my own.
And may I ask you, just for us to all know, in 1988, you opened your own. You were the first black model agent to open her own company for models.
I was the first person. I wasn't the first black to open a model agency because there was Sophia DeFore. Even though the woman who owned Black Beauty, she was white, but it was all reference to blacks. Mm-hmm. So she knew that there was a market for it, and Sophia DeFore. But I was the first one, I think, that started my own model agency, but I competed with my white counterpart by representing white kids, then Latin kids, Asian kids, and black. So that it became something that I could keep my eye on what the market was doing, as I actually literally could compete brilliantly. Yeah. So when I saw whatever the market was doing, it wouldn't be because I didn't know because I was only representing blacks. I knew because I had the top number one top model in the world, Bonnie Berman. And at that moment, I had Bonnie Berman. I had girls who were really very, Ariane Kwazumi, she was number two,
You had incredible. You had from all over the globe. Betty Largo, Brazil. You really covered the globe with all
and my boys too were great. Yeah.
Oh, you had amazing boys. I want to skip forward quite a bit. Yeah. So I remember in 1988, you called us, we got a letter from you, and you started the Black Girls Coalition.
Yes. Yeah.
That letter from you made me feel like I belonged. I just want to tell you that, Marc. It made me feel like I belonged, that I had a place that I could go to express myself for the things that I went through. As I would always express them to you, but I also felt very happy that I could express it with my other fellow black models.
Yes.
Because I know that they went through the similar stuff. So can you tell us about the Black Girls Coalition?
Yes. Yeah, that was an interesting moment too in 1980. I think I started around 86, 87, 88, somewhere in between there. Um,
88, I remember 88.
yeah, and the reason for that was really basically to celebrate all the girls. It was just that I too was impressed that so many black girls were working editorially, because that had never happened before. And I give all that credit, a lot of it, to Regis Panez, who started American Elle. He started putting
Oh, yeah, Regis,
It
yeah.
wasn't Regis. He had my back, and even though I had more white girls, but the one thing I used to love that Stephen Meisel used to say to me, whenever he was looking for someone that was Asian or someone that was Latin, he could always call my agency because I always had them. He couldn't understand why no one had, the diversity of a model agency in that sense. The fact of it really is with the coalition, the Black Girls Coalition, it was very important to celebrate the girls, to let them know that this was the first time in history that so many girls like you were working. And I wanted to bring you together because how would you not be a unit if someone like me didn't bring you together? And it wasn't girls from my agency per se, just a few. It was girls from any agencies that was editorialized. If you were doing editorial, then I wanted you to get together. And I used the excuse of the homelessness that was happening in our city so we could benefit. So we started doing these wonderful parties, and we would make our industry be aware, wake them up, learn to give. And, it was just a thing to help change everything. So we changed the industry. And at the same time, all of you all felt like you had a cause and that you belonged to something. And that's why I thought it was always so important. You were so proud of it. Everyone, not one girl said no. Everyone said, oh, yes. And then anybody who wasn't even asked, they would say,
no matter where we were.
Around the world.
That's right.
Find harmony.
That's right. And you remember when Linda Evangelista used to say, I want to be in the Black Girls Coalition.
And she is somewhere back. Linda's always still in my life.
Why am I in the Black Girls Coalition? Yeah.
So then, from there, you went on to start the Balanced Diversity campaign, of which you asked Iman and myself to join you.
You know what?
Not
go ahead.
that, I'm skipping forward, but
I know.
What made you want to start the Balanced Diversity campaign? What was it that really said, I'm going to get this, let's do this, we're going for it?
You know what it was is that I had, we were, back in 2007, you yourself used to call me, especially when I closed the agency in 1986. And I went down to Mexico, and you, being someone who was still involved in the industry, started seeing the change. You started seeing that the models were disappearing off the runway. Slowly they were disappearing. And what had happened is that Eastern Europeans started to come through. They were scouting in Eastern Europe. Things started to change. And you start to see it, and you would call me and tell me. And at times you would just say, you got to get back here. You got to get back here. Well, it took me a minute, but by 2007, we did the first press conference that you flew in from London. I always had those who could tell me what was going on if I didn't see it. You need people behind the scenes. That's how the coalition started. There were a lot of people. There were editors, there were models, there were agents, there were hair and makeup people. There was everybody who actually worked in any division of the industry was someone who had given me the truth of what was going on. You were the one who basically were always telling me when you didn't see things or when you got annoyed about things. So you were my temperature. You were my thermometer, I should say. What had happened is that I didn't have to ask you and Iman to come join me. You, like Iman, was like automatic. There's no doubt. What are we doing? Iman was basically, when she saw, she kept hearing me talk about this, she was so shocked by the reality of everything I was proving to her that she just said, whenever this has to happen, whenever you need me, I'm there. I don't care what I'm doing. And what I needed you two for was for your celebrity, your being famous. You were already my foot soldier. You were already my scout. But
and I still love being your scout.
Yes, you were always my Indian scout. But when it came down to the press, you need those faces, those people that no one could deny. Everybody respects me and know me, but it was just good that you two stepped up like serious lieutenants to say, this is a problem. And we did it because we found that the industry had fallen into a rabbit hole. It wasn't so much that this thing it was unfortunate that they had really begun to only book models that were one or two, maybe, possibly, for show or none, and they were comfortable with it.
When we had to speak to these designers in our industry, this time I felt that you were coming from a place of this, you'd had enough.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Because
yeah. It was unbelievable because in 2007 we helped to shift it a bit. Franco Zazani came out in 2008 and did the all black issue for Italian Vogue, and that really made people, because she was so determined to show that black will sell. That made things happen. We had a little movement, but then it fell back in 2010. It started falling back. So that's why we had to, by 2013, okay, enough is enough. It's like, I only see it as the education of what they don't have. Like right now, I listen to radio all day long, and all we're talking about is black people's history. You know why? Because it's time. Everything is time.
And we all need to know it.
And everyone needs to know it, because
key.
Everyone needs to know it. And that's what's happening. So that same thing with what I was doing. It's my fashion history. These designers, they don't know what I know, that this is not brand new to us. We've already been on top of the mountain. What do you mean kicking us back down into the hole? Let me help you out. So it's more of an education. I'm not an excuse, like we don't accuse them. We're just trying to teach them.
Conversation.
So,
now you're also working with Gucci.
Oh yeah.
As an ambassador for the Gucci Changemakers program.
Yes.
I mean, everyone runs to you, Bethann, especially in the last few years, for when they've had hiccups. Yeah. I'm going to be straightforward about it. I'm also working with Gucci and helping them on their program, bringing kids from Africa for their scholarships and programs. But what I'm saying is, everyone runs to you. Why don't they just listen to you in the beginning? You've been saying this for decades. They run to you when it's a problem, when there's a backlash on their brand. And now we have to run to Bethann.
Well, thank you for the compliment, my child. I think
honestly, Marty. But me, the respect is unbounded.
With the greatest news, luxury brands don't know us like this is our history. America was our history. You're a British European raised child. But in truth of it is, in America, our story is completely different. And so it's very hard to imagine that they know everything. They don't know. The luxury brands don't know our history. They're learning it. So that Bacala sweater debacle, which is alleged because people saw it that way. I didn't see it that way. Many people didn't see it that way, but enough people saw it that way. So it becomes a problem for them. But it's because someone who worked there knew me and told them about me, and they said, oh my God, do you think she could meet with us? And when I met with them, I so happened to have been in the next day's meeting with Dapper Dan that held in Harlem. They saw how people reacted to me. They saw the things I said. And that gave Marco Brazzari the inspired idea, I want this woman on our team. And that's what
okay, so that's so good. We're all doing team and consulting, but I hope that you're being paid for that.
Oh, darling, don't worry. You got me good.
Okay.
Because everything with you is getting paid.
I love them. But I'm just saying, in a generalization, now I read somewhere the other day that, you want us to consult for this, you want us to consult for that, you got to pay for that.
No, it's exactly true. Well, the thing about you, the one thing about you don't like people taking advantage, and you don't like not getting paid. Equal funds, as you always say.
Well, it's taken me decades to get equal, finally.
Yeah. No, but you've always fought for it. You've always, since you're a teenager, you've always wanted. I know, and you would find out someone got more than you, and you'd go off. Let me just say this one thing to you. I am on the Changemakers, which is doing an extraordinary job, and it's way before this movement happened. They have already initiated. You're going to speak to Cleo next, right?
Yes, I am.
Yes, well, perfect, because she is our other leader within the Changemakers. You know,
Yeah.
she helps to run that board. So the change makers is something we do from our heart, and we help to make sure, and they wanted our guidelines. But as a consultant and advisor to the brand Gucci, yes, I am someone that they pay.
Well, I feel that now, with what's happening right now, I think it's going to be many people coming at you. I mean, what's going to happen now with CFDA? Are we going to have more black designers finally to be? There's so many black designers, they just don't get the opportunity in the platform. They don't get let in.
Well, it's not the CFA is not a council that you can't get in. Anybody can get in. The fact of it is we have to build the brands, and that's what I'm doing right now, working with 5 other people who help to advise this group I have. I've never given it a name, but I use it under the umbrella. I go use the office of the CFDA. I use one of their employees to help me to make all the meetings. I just had a long 2-hour Zoom meeting with them yesterday, and it's basically because of the fact that the young brands of people of color are hit very hard, you know, and it's just that I want to help build their business, not to make them famous, but to make them successful.
Exactly.
There are designers
to make them successful.
That's right. I want to make them successful so they can leave their business to their children. I don't care if not everyone can become Virgil. You know, he's been blessed by.
It's not about fame, but just like
fame. It's not about fame.
No.
It's not about fame. So this is the group that I'm working on, and now it's very nice that you look to get make sure they went through a tough time because they're not. Some of them was able to get money out of the Common Thread Fund. Some of them got rejected, and that's okay. We're going to find money for them someplace because everybody should get at least a little $10,000 to get them through.
No, we are going to. We're going to support our own.
That's right.
I wanted to also say this, like, I feel, I can count on one hand, again, of how many black designers I've worked for as a modeling, after modeling for 34 years. I can count on one hand.
Yeah, well, see, you came in the game when the game was popping. We were popping before you came along, but it's not an easy game to be in. The industry is a very difficult and a hard business to be in. You've got to have a calling so deep, and you got to be willing to be an apprentice to sort. You've got to want it to be someone to intern. You've got a lot of young black people today. They don't want to take that time to take that step. They want to just get right there, put that sewing machine out and start making it happen. And some will survive at that and some won't. The industry is not like it used to be. Our garment business, we don't have the angels that we used to have in it that put money behind businesses like it used to. And when you look at it, luxury brands are much more brighter in our eyes right now. It's not their fault. They're just being able to succeed in that way. But we have some here. We just don't have the financial support. With other luxury brands, they have the Kierans and you have, LVMHs and things like that. But it doesn't mean we don't have the Ben Shawls who used to be the people putting money behind the Ralph.
I want them to be protected from like these brands that can come in and say, okay, design us this, collaborate with us with this, and because they need the money, they just sign their life away. I see that.
Well, that's a different thing. That's a different thing. Someone has to make that decision when they take that chance. You can do that, but you have to make sure that you're able to do it. You're so excited
to protect them.
Yeah, and you have to understand that sometimes the deal can't go any other way. If someone's going to put all their money into you, they're buying the company. You have to understand, a lot of people don't understand that. They're buying the company and you want that off your back. You want that support, so you say, okay. Now, when you become disheartened and you're not happy about it anymore, well, you just got to say, that's what Willie Smith did. He just came up with another name. There was Willie Smith.
I'm so happy I got to work with him.
Right?
Ma, I just want to ask you one more question as we are going to bring our lovely little talk to a close. What will you say to the young generation out there, the young girl that wants to model and be in our business, the young designer? What would you say? What advice would you give them now in these times?
Well, this is a good time to be wise because now we're getting a lot of opportunities. But it still doesn't get any easier because everybody back is down right now. So we have to figure out, will there be shows? Will there be photography sessions? There's a lot of things that's changed right now because of COVID. But right now, if it wasn't COVID, just forget COVID for a moment and think it was like back in the day, just about 8 months ago, 6 months ago. yeah, you have to really determine, do you really want to do this? And be prepared for all the yays and the nays, because it will come. And the truth of it, when it comes down to a model, you know, so I don't suggest everyone to get into it. It's a tough one. But when it comes down to a designer, that's something that calls you deeper. That's like a craft. That's an artist. And with that, you really sometimes should take a break and go work for someone else so that you can build, so people can get to know who you are. 'Cause that's what happens in that's what happens in Europe. A lot of those designers that get to work for those brands, those big luxury brands, have worked for someone else. We don't do enough of that, and that's what we have to do.
They come from the back of.
They have
And how do you see it for, last question, for us, like not so much me, but the young black models out there today? Is it the change is going, are we going still in the right direction of change, or do you feel
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
back in some way?
No. The black fashion model has truly arrived and has stayed for the last 10 years. There are girls that I know that, you know, you look back in the day, if a model lasted 3 seasons, good on that. Now I have girls that I sit and talk with, Cindy Bruna or Grace Bowl. These are girls who've been in the business 10 years. I mean, Cindy may have been a little less, but they've been around and they still are working. That's to our work, to our good work, that has happened. And now to see what they need that would make their life better when it comes down to the glam squads, when it comes down to people, you know, take care of their hair and face better. You know,
finally now we have on the teens people that can take care of our type of hair, but that only happened in the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, the girls are still complaining. The little girls, because the little girls don't get it at the same amount. They're still complaining. So that's something that's important, you know, those kind of things. But the work of the fashion model has been extraordinarily successful.
And we are going to continue to keep making that change. You know what I want? I want to see all be paid the same. I'm not into followers that you get paid, but they're girls doing the same job. And no, you know that I'm not into that. That's right. My thing. And within our balanced diversity, that's my little pet peeve that I want to see a change in, because we're all doing the same work. We should all get the same pay.
That's right.
Marc, I love you very much.
I appreciate you all
very much.
Thank you for being.
And I thank you for your time. And I hope you'll come back on No Filter again, because you're such a big part of me. And all that I've learned so much from you.
And believe me,
I'm still a work in progress, learning.
And I appreciate you for this, because I will come back, because we have a lot of things to talk about. And a lot of things
to do. Many, so I know you're going to come back.
Yes,
lots of plans that we need to unveil, of things that we are going to be doing for our change within our industry.
That's right.
Revealed. Yeah. This was just a taster for everyone.
Thank
you so much. On No Filter.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ma. I love you.
Thank you, Naomi. God bless you. Buffalo Soldier. Buffalo Soldier.
Bethann Hardison, everybody. So, my next guest is none other than Tyler Mitchell. Tyler Mitchell is our first ever black photographer to shoot American Vogue. Welcome, Tyler. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I always get so when it pops up.
So giddy. So good to see you.
My sweet?
It's been too long. I'm good. I'm good.
You're such a baby. I love every time I see you. I'm like, how have you been?
You know, hanging in there like the rest of us, good as we can be. I like that you're doing this show, and thank you for inviting me. Seriously, I'm honored.
No, please, thank you for your time and being able to come on.
Yeah. I just, I'm glad we also get to get up to speed a little bit, right? Because we also have to catch up.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, can I just start, because I feel like you probably were doing what you were doing pictures before, but the world came to know your name after you shot Beyonce on the cover of American Vogue. And it was the first black photographer in 120 years. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, in this moment, definitely. Well, it's been 2 years since it happened almost, which is pretty crazy to think about, and just the way in which my life has turned upside down since then. But in this moment, it's been crazy to think about the reckoning I think that the world of fashion's having a little bit, and that question of still like, when are things gonna fully, open up for more voices and for people who haven't even had a glimmer of opportunity yet. So I'm thinking about the amazing experience I've had within this system that we both work in, but I'm also thinking about ways to open up opportunities for others. And yeah, just that right now, it's not like my question to answer, right? It's kind of theirs to speak for as to why they haven't had more folks who look like me,
And sharing
Yeah.
your platform.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I noticed that all of you, Ivy, Kamara, all of you, Campbell, you're all friends, and that's wonderful. There's
Yeah.
this, you're all helping each other, and it makes me feel like my 34 years was worth it. When I see all of you and the work you're doing, I'm so proud.
That just gave me shivers.
Oh, babe.
Yeah,
You know what? I realized that, Nadine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I shot with Nate. It's the first time I've ever shot with a black female photographer in my
Wow.
entire career. Was now this year,
It's insane.
2020.
It's insane. Yeah. It's crazy how even when I remember you posted, you were like, this is my first like major editorial shoot with a black photographer. And I believe, wasn't it with Jamel and then with Campbell, right? Jamel Shabazz. And yeah, like I was just blown away to hear that news, first of all, but also it's one of those things that we ourselves can't answer for. It's like there needed to be more of a balancing in the opportunities given to people who look like us. That's really what it's about. And that's what I've been thinking about. Nadine, it's so funny you say that because I kind of had my big awakening when I went to London, where you're from and where Campbell's from, where Nadine's from, because that's when I realized, oh, I'm a Black American, and this is the Black British experience. And I was able to reflect on the United States a little more over there, but we all formed a little troop, and we all, of course, very much look up to yourself. And like you said, the 34 years, and also, to folks like Edward. So it's like, it's amazing to just like have that troop. We got to stay close together.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to ask you, how did it come to pass with the American Vogue for you? Were you working with Beyonce before, doing other things? Or was it like a phone call from Queen B, because we adore and love Queen B. Was it like a call of like, Tyler, could you shoot me for American Vogue? How could you give us an insight?
Yeah, it's basically, yeah, she had requested me for a couple things before. She her team had been in talks with me about going on tour with her, actually. But I'm not built for like the tour life. And I was just like, yeah, and I was just like, I don't know if I could do that. But I mean, at the time there have been like a couple cross sections. I did a cover for Teen Vogue with Emma Gonzalez and the survivors of the Parkland shootings in like March of 2018. So that shoot was big because then Condé Nast and Vogue then knew about my work after I did that. And my work before was very like intermingled with politics and with music and fashion. So I guess they both, B had known about me also for a project I did with Solo, with Solange, and Vogue had known about me because of the project I did with Teen Vogue. And so Raul and Anna basically were like, yeah, we would really love to, what do you think, B, of this photographer? She immediately said yes, and then Raul called me. So, yeah.
Well, I tell you, it was like wildfire. When we heard it was you, it was like wildfire.
It's amazing.
Can we start at the beginning of your career? Like, how did you always want it to be? Because I feel like you're not just a photographer of fashion. You're more than that, like you just said, actually. So tell us all the things that you're doing. And then I know that what's happening now is very important to you.
Yeah.
So,
Begin like origin story. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know if I actually ever told you that, but born and raised there.
I met you in Miami first.
Yeah, which was really fun. At all the like Prada happening, and yeah, so we met there, but I never got to tell you I'm from Atlanta, and basically like was kind of the skater kid in Atlanta. People knew me as like a skateboard filmmaker. I basically filmed friends. You know, Spike Jonze did the same thing. Amazing director who I look up to, but he was also kind of a skateboarding filmmaker. He would make montages out of all these crazy tricks people would do. So I was basically known as that guy in Atlanta, and that led me to move up to New York. I basically decided to pursue it and go to film school at NYU.
How
But
old are you?
18 when I moved, but I was starting skateboarding since 13, 14. It was really, yeah. And yeah, when I moved up here was when my brain was just, you know, then you get introduced to like the world of fashion and it's all here in New York. And that's when I really started to like think about my work as being intersected with many things. And I think the internet was a big part of that actually, because I was growing up looking at people like Ryan McGinley's photographs and looking at people like Larry Clark's photographs and looking at people like Petra Collins' photographs. Like those were the photographers that were like reblogged all the time on Tumblr.
Yeah.
And so I guess like you said, it's like about being more than fashion and about being concerned with this moment. I think it goes back to the internet because the internet was how I was able to see so many images and understand those as like catalysts for change in a way. Which sounds corny or sappy.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Which sounds corny or sappy, but I just think that seeing images like on Tumblr, on Pinterest that had no connection to one another, like a painting from the 1800s and a picture taken 2 days ago, and how they could be related was how my brain started to think about all these webs of things that I do. Like you said, I do more than one thing. So yeah.
Well, I mean, we spoke towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
And you asked me something, and by the way, my commitment's still there.
Yeah.
Still want to do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I trust you, and I think that what drives me and feeds me is getting to work with you and your generation. It's you know, to see how you interpret this old woman. But tell me about. So have you been taking pictures? Were you out on the streets during the protests, and were you shooting?
I was. It's a good question, and I'm curious how things have been going out in LA for you too. I wanna know. But in New York, here the vibe has been very purposeful, which is really good, and things are starting to come back to life after the protests. Like I've been out in the streets, but I haven't been taking pictures. I was talking about this with a photographer friend. My camera's really been collecting dust. And that's mainly, I feel good about it because I really want to throw out the window kind of all the old ways I've been working a little bit. Like, I think we all kind of need to do that. This is like a great moment to like take out the trash, you know what I mean? And be like, let me empty out the trash that I've ignored for way too long. Let me like restart with new habits. And I just think, I'm trying to kind of reapproach how I want to make images. So especially as we come to this moment that feels more and more anarchic, I want to think about how I want to contribute. I think we're all thinking about how to contribute. But I'm curious, like, how's it been in LA? Like, what's the vibe out there with the protest?
I don't go out.
Yeah. For safety.
I'm here, but
yeah.
No, I'm not going out. I really feel that it is spiking again.
Yeah,
and
it is.
I think everything's been opened too early, and therefore we're going to see the results. It's not going to be positive from that. I understand though that people have to go to work. I understand that. I know the economy and everything, but it really, in order to get this to go, I do believe we have to follow the rules and what they say.
Yeah, we got to be responsible, and it is a personal comfort thing, you know. Like what I did notice being out there was like I was so happy because it seemed to me at least New Yorkers have been really responsible because it's only young people out there, and I also feel like this reckoning moment has really been more incumbent upon white folks, you know, like. It's been more like y'all got to be on the front lines for us this time because we've seen so many of these. 5 years ago, we were in the same place. And here we are again looking at these awful images right in front of all of our faces. So I am happy that it seems like it's been a lot of young people and a lot of white people at the protests. I know that sounds funny to say.
I've seen that. And it's young white people, which is wonderful. Yeah.
Honestly, because like they're gonna need like they you can't blame, you know, the victims of this situation. The folks who are the oppressors also have, you know, and I think that's been the biggest
We,
question.
we are we are going to change. We are
Exactly.
changing. We're not waiting for to be given the okay about it. We are
Yeah,
going to make the change, and that's it.
exactly.
Really
Exactly.
simple. Do
Yeah.
you feel in your field in photography that, you know, through this change there will be more people of your color? We will have more black photographers, female and male, in our industry, because even in designers, it's very
Yeah.
few.
Yeah, it's true. I can't even imagine the designer conversation because, you know, I know you're at the forefront of that and you're also doing like a lot around African designers. I'd be curious to know like what the numbers look like. But the crazy thing for me with photographers is like they are there. You know, the talent is there in
But
in
no,
in treasure troves, you know, but no acknowledgement. And I think a lot about, again, the atypical experience I've had with the system and the thousands of folks before me who have been denied, you know, people like Gordon Parks, like we're talking about, and his legacy. He was shooting insides for Harper's Bazaar and Vogue, but he never did
the
a
cover.
cover. Right. Strangely. Like, why? So, so we have to carry that torch. It's just my job to go into those waters that we haven't seen yet,
It is,
and
and
you
you
as
will,
well.
and you carry it well. I do
Thanks.
feel that, I do feel that it's a change for everything.
Hmm.
So you're responsible for your part of making sure that you can get, you know, you come together like you already have, and
Yeah.
you embrace the new ones as well, the new babies, and
Right.
you, because, and then it's also we have to honor each other too. I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes our fashion world, when they have these honors of NAACP or BET, which I think BET
Yeah.
is coming up, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. Of course,
Yeah.
it's wonderful to see our race and people of color get the respect and
Yeah.
accolades they deserve. But it's
Yeah.
also, they forget about us in fashion. They forget about us completely.
Yeah.
And this is why today I dedicated this show to people. I made this show more about our industry, having
Mm.
Bethann and you and Cleo,
Yeah.
because I want people to know the artistic side of what goes on in our business. And now we are also affected and have been affected, and to hear your stories.
Yeah. It's true. It's a good group of people too. I'm excited to see, and I haven't actually had enough conversations with Bethann. I want to talk more with her because that's another good point you bring up, which is that we also, especially in this moment, I feel more of a need than ever to like look left and look right. Like when I see a call from you, or when I see a call from a friend like Kelsey Lou, or something, it's like we also just those conversations like this one we're having right now help one another and help other people looking. So it's a really good thing, like you said.
Well, Bethann,
We all right now want to look left and right and want to kind of lift one another up also, you know, and we want
we
to
have to.
remind each other that we're going to be okay through this when we see, you know, images like George Floyd. So, yeah.
Well, that's what it really is. It's lifting each other up
Yeah.
as we
Yeah.
go through this change together.
Yeah. But how have you been feeling? What, like, talk to me about.
How do I feel? I mean, I can't complain. I have this thing of, I went a little quiet for a minute, and not being on social media, and then I just felt like, no, this is not me. I
Yeah.
want to speak. This
Yeah.
is, you know, all my career I've spoken about this since I was 18 when I understood it, and now
Right.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Right.
So I decided to come back and use this platform as a way to speak.
Right.
And you know, but I know it's challenging times for many in so many different ways, mentally, just the whole thing of not being able to go out and do things or to feel restricted. For me,
Yeah.
it's the reverse personally, because I travel so much. So
Yep.
the restriction is I'm embracing the stillness, but I understand that it can be the reverse for many. And, you know, so it's been, you know, I've lost a few lives in this coronavirus, and
Yeah.
you know, just makes you reflect, really.
It does, yeah. It's, I think, tougher than anything on the mental. Like you said, not being able to be there for those people, and in this moment, not being able to, like you said, lift each other up. But this is the next best thing. And honestly, I keep saying, like, every FaceTime or every call I have with a friend does truly make my day or changes the course of my day. So
You appreciate, I find
yeah,
that I appreciate a phone call so much more
yeah,
now than before. Like, I listen to every word.
literally,
I'm an energy person, so I get very excited and very into it. My body moves, as you see. But it's like, you know, it's like, because we're always rushing, dashing, got to go, school,
yeah,
jump, 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 jump. And
yeah,
I don't know, it's even, there's a solace to just putting your feet on grass. It's just as simple as that,
yep,
you know?
yep, 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 yeah,
Just quickly to jump back. Any
yeah.
little special thing you can tell us about our Queen Beyonce?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, just that she is a true collaborator. Like
Yeah.
she, and like yourself, I'm sure. I can't wait for our collaboration whenever the time and place is right. But um, you know, she understands after years of collaborating with image makers. I think one thing that a lot of us fight for is really that arena, that playground that we all want. You know, as photographers, we really just want to be able to collaborate with those who are in front of us. And so it can be really tough sometimes when you're kind of matched up with someone to shoot, or you go out with even a friend who's just not in the mood, and it becomes a difficult or like a really trying or full of friction experience. She was not that at all. So she truly was a collaborator, and she understood how to work and what the best picture was. So it was
I
really, really
just,
fun. And I know you do too. I know you know that too. Yeah.
I know what you mean by from Queen
Yeah.
Bee. I've seen it. It's
Yeah.
incredible how she works.
It's
I
incredible.
also respect that, and I think that's going to be a new thing too,
Mhm.
that Beyonce owns her image. She
Mhm.
owns her image. And I think, I don't know, with all that's we're going through, I think that's going to be something that's going to come up.
That's
That,
powerful. And you're right. That's setting an example for people because it really is an ultimatum thing for her. And I think if more of us did that, I've been thinking about that a lot actually, that would just result in all of us feeling a little more able to author our own stories, which has been a big question for like the media industry is like who's telling what story, who has the power in telling certain stories. So that's why image makers are important, I think. And that's why she's a great example because she's like you either take it or leave it with her, the way she wants to
I
be
think
presented.
it's really something that's going to come up sooner than later and
Yeah,
going to be addressed.
totally.
It's part of
Yeah,
the change. It's part of the change that we have to own what we do.
100%. Yeah. Thank you for having me again. I can't wait to
Tyler, Mitch,
watch the
thank you
conversation.
so much for your time. Thank you. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to give
Yeah,
you a big hug, and I can't wait to get started on our collaboration.
yeah.
Thank you so
Be in
much.
touch soon. All right.
Be
Bye.
safe, okay, darling? Be safe.
You too. All right.
Our next guest is an artist, a poet, an activist, and an author. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Cleo Wade.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you
How
for
are
being
you?
here. I'm good, thank you. You're in LA, right?
I am. Where are you?
I'm in LA too.
Oh, cool.
But I'm normally East Coaster, but I just thought I'd come here for a couple months.
Yeah, I just moved here in November, so I get it.
From East Coast?
Yeah.
You love it more?
I had a baby in
Oh yes,
January.
congratulations.
Yes, and so it's my baby daddy's here. That's really the reason. So,
Got you.
yeah.
So I'd like to start, how did you first become aware when you started to express your feelings through words?
I talk about this a lot. I wrote a small essay about this in my last book, Where to Begin, which is I really found the power of words from all the moments I was silent. I think that especially as women of color, or if you're in any oppressed group or in any minority group, you know so deeply and so painfully every time you didn't speak up. every time you didn't feel safe, like you didn't feel like there was someone in the room who would have your back if you said something, or maybe you felt like you didn't matter, and so it didn't matter if you said something. And so I think that having grown up in Louisiana and growing up in New Orleans, and in a state that, you know, really a lot of the racism that people are opening their eyes up to now was very prevalent around me growing up. And so for me, I think I learned the value of words by swallowing so many, and then getting to the point where I just couldn't swallow them anymore. And I just couldn't live.
Suppressed and pushed.
Yes, with your stories, it's a burden too. You know, you just can't. You want your stories to be free, and I say that, you know, we bury our stories alive when we keep them inside of us. And so
it can be our poison, absolutely.
Yes. And we allow for them to heal us when we speak up. And so to me, you know, I didn't get to the point where I was silent in my girlhood and my childhood, and then all of a sudden I wrote a book. I started by first finding the friends where I felt safe to express myself, by being in therapy and finding ways of expressing myself. And then from then on, I just took more and more chances with expressing myself on bigger or wider platforms. And now so much of my work revolves around helping other people to do the same.
Well, it's phenomenal. I mean, Bethann Hardison,
I love her.
and she loves you equally as same. I definitely feel the love from both of you to each other. She said you were a leader of the Changemaker program with Gucci.
Yes, I'm a co-chair.
And I mean, I was just saying to Bethann before, you know, it's great that they have this Changemaker program, that they came up with this. Yeah. It's just sometimes where it doesn't matter where it comes from or how it got to be, how it had to be born, even if it was a mistake and an outcry. Yeah. But you know, apology was made. But I feel that's happened a lot in so many industries, where I just feel now, if you just given us that placement, board seat, co-chair, you know, CMO, this half of this could have been prevented.
Yeah, and you know, I think for a long time people were trying to solve the wrong problem, right? And one of the things that I'm so proud of that we do with the Gucci Changemaker Council is we really asked ourselves, where are the real problems? You know, you can't say that the real problem with your company is that you don't have enough diversity, and then think that the solution to that problem is trying to hire more people of color. But then all of a sudden, when you're trying to hire, you don't find the talent that you're looking for. And you realize that there's this system that has made it impossible for people to get to the hiring stage.
Impossible. Absolutely.
You know, and so it starts in our schools. And so what I'm really proud of is that, you know, I don't think there is. I'm pretty sure Gucci is the first major company to make sure that they created partnerships with historically Black colleges and universities around this country. And we really asked ourselves, okay, you know, where does it start? You know, the thing is that all of a sudden, every single person you hire or that interviews for the job is white, then you start to it starts to be something that you're not even sure you don't notice because you're just so used to seeing what you
just became so used to that rhythm.
Exactly.
And that way that it just became the way.
And we forget a lot of the times when people are hiring too, you're in a bind, right? Like somebody quit and you've got to fill it, and there's this work piling up, and so when you're in these spaces, I think that, you know, not to make excuses for the behavior, but it's a perfect storm of lack of people who make it to the hiring stage and the rush I think that most people are going through when they're hiring. And so, you know, what we did was we really focused on where is the opportunity gap? You know, we started in the schools. We started with high school students. You know, we started with college students. We started, you know, we put out a call to programs all across the country who were helping, you know, to make sure that we could give support to students so that we can actually break poverty cycles, you know, through support. And so, you know, I'm also on the board of the Lower East Side Girls Club, which is a safe haven in New York City that supports over 400 girls a year, Black and brown girls around New York City. And we've done so much research to understand, what do our girls need
Is that
holistically?
Rosario's? Did you say
Yes.
Rosario's? Yes, that's a great one. I did something with them.
Oh, they're the
best.
best. They're the
2008.
best. And so, yeah, Rosario is a long-term board member. She's amazing. She's actually hosting the virtual gala tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
And
Is that their graduation?
it's basically, what's so cool about the Girls Club is that they really survive on a shoestring budget, and every dollar they make comes from the gala each year. So it's really just a one time of year where we fundraise for all of our operations costs, all of the, the ways that we can help the girls. And so what's really cool about the Girls Club is that we realize that, there is never one solution, right? Our girls need to have healthy meals. So, we cook a meal 6 days a week after school that's a vegetarian meal, and we teach our girls about eating healthy. We help them with their homework. Yes, we counsel them. We help them to find creative ways to express themselves. And so I think that what's so beautiful, and Gucci has also been a huge supporter of the Girls Club over the past few years as well. And so what we're really examining is, that a company at the end of the day is a collection of people, and a collection of people are always a very powerful force. And so what we look at is, how do we use our power and not waste our power? Because I think historically we all have, right? We've been like, well, a company's job is not to be in the world.
I definitely feel like our business of fashion, definitely there's been a lot of waste, and not that they did knowing that they were wasting, where they thought they were doing the right thing. But now there is such a responsibility of doing social awareness. And if you really want to make a change, it's long term.
Oh, yeah.
It's a long-term plan. It's not something just for what it looks like. It's like long term. It's really coming into the infrastructure, which for me is education, and giving those opportunities of skills so that they can go out and have the same opportunity, like you say, going for that job.
Exactly.
that job interview. So for me right now, I have to be honest, I don't say this word often, but this is very exciting times.
Yeah.
It really is, because I feel now we are being heard. We are and not only heard, they're standing alongside us. So they also are feeling it too. And they want the change. So I really feel this is a very positive time that we will have that we are going to get our change.
I completely agree. And I think that if anything, this time is really bringing a sense of moral urgency to companies and businesses, because they realize that, a big company is a community hub, and we have to serve our communities. And so I think it's really been beautiful to watch the CEOs and presidents come together and discuss ideas for how they can make long lasting change, and also just fundamentally change the way all of these companies feel. Because, a lot of the things that have been these oversights over the years, whether it's, a mask or a t-shirt or all of these things, would those things have happened if there was a person of color in the design room or on the production team?
Exactly.
And so they're also helping to solve their own problems as well. And so it's been really beautiful to see private interests become public interest. I don't know if there'll be such thing as private interest in anything anymore.
Mm-hmm. True. That's very true. I mean, so how do you work in terms of what's your process? I just want to get back to you a little bit and how you work.
I always kind of, so much of what I write is inspired by the people I get to meet. Once a year, I create this little booth in a public park. It's called the Are You Okay booth. And it's kind of inspired by Lucy from the Peanuts. She used to have her little psychiatric booth where it said 5 cents for a psychiatrist. And I have one that's, it's called Are You Okay? And it's free, peaceful, and loving conversation. And I sit outside for maybe 10 hours a day and I just listen to people. And so much of my work is inspired by the stories I get to hear. And for me, when I write, I feel like I write for my friends, even if they're friends I haven't met yet. And I feel like am able to write the stories that, or put words to some of the stories that I get to hear. And so much of my process has to do with being out in the world and observing what's happening, and listening to my friends and to my family, and trying to create a universal message around these experiences.
I know that for me, when I first heard about you, it's like, they tried to say, oh, you're the new millennial Oprah.
Oh my
And
God.
I know what that's like, actually.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I'm not going to introduce you that way, because you are the new millennial Cleo Wade.
Yeah.
You are you. And I'm
Yeah.
so over them having to constantly put us against each other.
I know.
It has to be, we can't be just who we are. There has to be, you're the new such and such Naomi. Such and such is the new Naomi. Cleo's the new, no. Cleo Wade is Cleo Wade.
Yeah. It is
And I
hard.
just wanted to say that.
And it's interesting too, because I find that they do it with women so much more than men too. Do you know? Like, I've joked before that you never hear anyone say in politics that Paul Ryan was the millennial Mitch McConnell, or they don't do that with senators or how people in the House of Representatives, and I think that I think that people especially like to do that with women of color, and I think that it's such a disservice to our stories, because there are so many lanes, there are so many spaces, there's such a vibrancy, and there is such an array of Blackness in the world. And so I think that a lot of the times when they say that because someone is, maybe speaking to a similar vein or has similar goals and aspirations, which is maybe to make people feel seen or heard or loved or to hear stories, that their identity must be in the box of this identity. Exactly.
It's I totally am with you right there.
And so it is definitely interesting to watch, and it's hard too, because you want to be able to have your own path, and you also want to be able to acknowledge the greats for who they are. I don't think that my name needs another name or someone else's name needs mine, because you want to just be able to cherish their individual journey, because I think it does take so much away to say that someone could be, you're a person, you're not a thing. So if someone can't be you, only you can be you, and
ask you, Cleo, sorry.
What?
May I ask you, who are the poets that inspired you?
Oh my gosh. I'm of course so inspired by Alice Walker. I don't even think I would be a writer if it weren't for Alice Walker. I love Audre Lorde. I also love Mary Oliver. And then I know she didn't write much poetry, but I love Toni Morrison. I just think everything she writes is poetry, even if it's and everything she says is poetry. So those are definitely the people that I think I look up to and admire the most, and really impacted my journey. I think that when you are first starting out and you're finding yourself, you really look to the people who did it before you, and you'd be crazy not to, and I think that that's why I'm so grateful that so many people have left a template, and I remember being younger and reading Alice Walker and thinking, wow, how did she just make these words in a way that made me feel the beauty of the world, and also made me feel like I wanted to get up and do something about the world. And I'd never seen or been impacted by words in that way before. And so being able to witness that at a young age it was everything to me.
May I ask you, before we come to a close, would you lead us out with one of your beautiful poems?
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much. And because just for the times that we're in right now, we just need to support each other, give strength and hope, uplift each other. And you are such an inspiration to so many. And for your generation, for my generation, it's like last night I was up till 4:30 a.m. just reading all your things, and I was just
my goodness.
Yeah, I really was. And just a true angel of light in our times, and a leader of so many things.
Thank you so much. I'm I'm going to read this poem. I think this might be one of my favorite poems I've ever written. And it actually is the poem that inspired me to write my entire second book. But it's called Tired. Okay. I haven't read a poem in a while. This is exciting. Tired. I was tired of worrying, so I gave myself my peace back. I was tired of feeling intimidated by what I should do, so I pulled up my sleeves and got to work on what I could do. I was tired of not knowing, so I found out about myself, my family, my ancestors, my government, and the struggles of others. I was tired of seeing evil everywhere, so I found the heavenly spots and showed my neighbors where they were. I was tired of looking at the world as one big mess, so I decided to start cleaning it up. And when people ask me if I am exhausted, I tell them no, because more than anything, what I got the most tired of was being tired. Thank you.
That couldn't be more appropriate for now than ever.
Yeah.
Cleo Wade, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. It's
I
a pleasure
appreciate
to
you
meet
so
you.
much and all that you do.
You are a blessing. Thank you so much for taking your time to be on No Filter. Thank you.
Thank you.
And kiss your little baby boy. I know his initials are MLK.
Oh, girl, baby girl. But yes, they are.
Baby girl, MLK.
Yes,
So I just know
girl.
it's MLK.
Yes. Yeah, her initials are MLK, and she was actually born on MLK Day. Her
My
name is
gosh.
Memphis Love Kimber.
Beautiful.
So, all right, bye.
Bye, my darling. Bye-bye. Thank you all for watching No Filter Season 2. It was an honor to have such amazing guests on the show today. Thank you, Bethann Hardison, Tyler Mitchell, and Cleo Wade. And if you have any questions for any one of my guests on the show, please leave them in the comment box and I will get back to you. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.